Welcome to this session for a modern identity solution, Zoho Directory as a cloud identity provider. So the agenda for today is that we will look at Zoho Directory from two flavors. From the morning or for a very long time, you would have been hearing about this product called Zoho Directory. It is actually used in two flavors. One, in the context of Zoho, all the apps of Zoho, in which we act as a user management platform. And when we interact with a third-party identity provider, we act as a service provider. But the whole point of this session is to present you guys with a different flavor of Zoho Directory, where Zoho Directory could act as an identity provider. As the gentleman over there said, Zoho Directory can actually replace some of the legacy directory systems. So we will actually start with that, and then we'll proceed to see what are all the challenges that Zoho Directory can meet from the perspective of, modern identity management. We'll look at how the features like single sign-on, provisioning, security, and much more meets those challenges. Then we'll also have a sneak peek of, the upcoming features in Zoho Directory. I have been speaking about this identity and access management, right? Or IdP. We all have this experience of checking into a hotel. When we checked into a hotel, they gave us an access card. That access card is nothing but a representation of you. It's an identity. And the hotel is the identity provider. So that's simple. So, but as the end user, we are worried about where we can use this card. You might use this for getting access to your room. Then you might, use it to get access to your gym area or the recreation club or the swimming pool. That's all we care about as end users. But the hotel administration, they have a different sort of problems to worry about. The first thing is, who can use this? I've been talking about us. We are guests, right? There will be housekeeping staff, there will be security personnel, there will be kitchen staff, and so many people, they'll be having their own access card. So the access should not just work based on who has it. It should actually work based on their role and so many other permissions that they have. The second thing is, the hotel administration also has to ask this question, how long this is valid for? Probably for us, it expires at the checkout. For the housekeeping staff, it is not so. They will have to continue using it for a longer time. And for best practices, they may decide that the card has to be, renewed every month. Probably they will have to hand over that old card and get a new one. So many things are possible. And the other part is, where and when can it be used? This is a very critical question, right? If I am a premium customer, I should be able to go and access the spa area. If I'm not a premium customer, I should not be able to go and access it. And the when part also comes into picture. So I cannot walk into gym after 9 p.m. or 10 a.m. The card should not work then. Similarly, for the housekeeping staff, they have access to all our rooms, but can they walk in after 8 p.m. or can they use it after their shift hours? So they have to consider all this when they give the card to the user. What if it's lost or forgotten? Even yesterday I left my card in the room and went to take water. I had to go down, get a new card. All these are common problems. And the last thing is it tracked properly for security purpose? When I say tracked, it's not like someone who is watching you, but more of getting an audit trail of wherever you use this card, when you used it, and which place did you access to, and so on. This entire process is what we call as identity and access management. Having the identity is one part, and there is a lot of, broader framework of technology, process, and policies involved in managing them. That is what we call as identity and access management. Now, coming to when I say identity and access management, you could easily understand if you understand these things. All the features that we are talking about or going to talk about is going to depend on one or three of these main functions. So one is to authenticate. Authenticate is to tell whether the person is a valid user or not. It's like if you have an access card, you're a valid user. But authorize, you might be a valid user, but do you have the right permission to enter into certain areas? Do you have the right to access certain resource? This is authorization. And auditing is to keep track of who accessed what and when. Now, to sum up what we discussed, an identity provider is nothing but a service that creates and manages your user identities, whereas IAM is a broader term which refers to a set of policies and controls and technologies that helps you manage the identities. So for the sake of simplicity, you can assume it's the same. It's pretty much the same. Now, I was speaking about Zoho Directory in two flavors, right? Anybody using more than one Zoho app could relate to this easily. So let's say you have Zoho Mail, Zoho Books, Zoho Invoice, Zoho Desk, and much more product. In this case, you use Zoho Directory as your admin panel for centralized user management. You do not want to, go and onboard the users independently in each of these single apps. You would want to ideally add the user in one place and from there provision the users these apps. That's exactly why Zoho Directory is used from the context of Zoho apps. But it does not stop with that. A lot of customers, they ask that, we already have a external identity provider or a directory store like, Azure AD, Okta, Jungle, Active Directory. They say that you need to sync the users from there to Zoho Directory and automatically assign the apps to the user. And they also say that I'm going to use my Okta account or Microsoft account to log in into Zoho apps. They might be holding on to the external identity provider because they might be having certain dependencies on them. It could be, they might be having non-Zoho apps already integrated with those systems. They might be having certain custom apps integrated with those systems. They might be having their laptops integrated with those systems. This flavor is called service provider. This is one of the flavor which is most commonly used when it comes to Zoho Directory. In this, Zoho Directory acts as a conduit between your third-party provider and Zoho apps. Its scopes ends here. But what I wanted to present now in this session is a completely different flavor. Zoho Directory can be your identity provider. We talked about the hotel example, right? So Zoho Directory can issue your user identity. It can, help you with authentication, authorization, and also provisioning, deprovisioning, etc. And it can also manage your apps. This is very critical. Without app management, any kind of a directory falls flat. It's like, giving the access card, but the hotel doesn't have any room. So Zoho Directory can not only manage your Zoho apps, but it can also manage your third-party apps and custom apps. So third-party apps are like you name all the popular apps outside like Monday.com, Asana, Atlassian, Jira, or Salesforce, so many other products. Now, is apps everything? So for a user to access their app, they need to log in into their device. So Zoho Directory can authenticate your work laptops also. And we are bringing in support for Zoho Directory to authenticate your Wi-Fi and printer systems also. So it's a complete circle. A user needs a device which is connected to a network to access an app. Zoho Directory can authenticate all these things. And sitting on top of all this is our security framework. We spoke about the where and when part, the card rotation. You can easily map it to a real world scenario. It's like your password, right? So your password has to be rotated. There is a certain password complexity that needs to be enforced. Multi-factor authentication needs to be enforced for your organization. And, session management has to be done. So many other things. So all this neatly fit into each other. And last but not the least, some people might ask, I need to migrate from an external source to Zoho Directory. So for that, we allow syncing of users from a different source to Zoho Directory also. This flavor is what we are going to focus on, and this is called the identity provider, where Zoho Directory acts as the primary source of truth for your identities and authenticates the users across all their resources such as apps, devices, and networks. But is the field of identity and access management something new? No, it's not. This particular product, Active Directory, is synonymous with direct. If you say directory, people assume it's Active Directory. It's that famous, except that it is 25 years old, and in tech world, it's like dinosaur kind of a thing. So why Zoho Directory is needed when you have certain legacy systems? The problem is legacy systems can't meet modern challenges. So we will have to look at what are all the challenges that is present in today's world to properly understand why a product like Zoho Directory is necessary. I'm going to dial back a few years ago. We are going to discuss about three main changes that happened. And these three main changes had some cascading effect into how we work, and the nature of our work got changed, and how we access apps and so many things. But fundamentally, those changes happened because of two reasons. First was the advent of cloud computing, and then the mobile computing came. So 10-15 years back, people used to work from office, big monitors, huge laptops, huge desktops, and there are server rooms. Things changed. Now, what is the first change that came about with that, technological ground shifting? The first thing was a lot of companies started moving from on-prem to cloud. So no more server rooms, no more IT guys having to maintain those server rooms. They were all deployed to other things. And the ease of building an app also, it got pretty simple. The developers loved it because all that, you don't have to do a lot of configuration. It is all pre-set for you. They just have to focus on building the app. And the financial decision makers of the enterprises also loved it. They did not have to, stack the servers. It's, if needed, they can, buy it on demand and so many other things. So what happened during this stage is that the ease of app building resulted in something called a SaaS boom. You could see a lot of SaaS products coming up. You can see that now too, right? There are so many apps out there. And with that, a demand emerged that these apps need to be authenticated differently, and the older systems couldn't work properly. And the scope of directories itself kind of changed. Previously, during the LDAP era or the Active Directory era, these systems, directories were just, user stores. They did not do much beyond that. But the scope of the modern directories got fairly widened. This is one study done by Okta. It shows that a decently mid-sized company, when I say mid-sized company, it's anywhere between 300 to 500 employees, uses around 88 apps. It could be your CRM, it could be your customer support app, it could be anything. And this also includes smaller functional apps like cab booking app or reserving a conference room, etc. But 88 apps are being used. So what is the biggest challenge with this? Passwords. So are you going to allow your users to use different passwords? It's not going to work. Especially the IT guys here, the nightmare. Your days will be spent in password resets. And the users, if you don't enforce single sign-on, they tend to, reuse the password, and that is going to be even more a bigger mess. And what about provisioning? So assume that all of you are working in a very hyper-growth company. Every Monday morning, 50 new employees are joining your organization. Every Monday morning. And all of them need 20 to 30 apps for their work. What is the first thing that you need to do? Are you going to go and create, 50 different accounts and 20 or 30 apps one by one? You will be spending your weekends on that. That's not possible, right? So what Zoho Directory will allow you to do is that you add your user here. In one click, the users will be provisioned across all the apps. We spoke of the onboarding process, but the same thing has to apply for the others too. We call it as joiner, mover, and leaver. So joiner is a person who is joining the organization. Mover is one who is moving between departments or whose roles or designation got changed, or he's one who got the promotion, etc. All these things has to happen seamlessly. It's like this, we spoke about the hotel example. Let's say a housekeeping staff got promoted to a floor manager. Their access should change immediately. It's not that someone should go there and manually do it. So Zoho Directory can take care of all these things. So what is the challenge that we are trying to solve here? So you need a system that can authenticate uniformly across multiple SaaS platforms and across multiple vendors. And this is where Zoho Directory single sign-on comes into picture. As you can see here, I have not just listed Zoho apps. There are some non-Zoho apps like, your Google Drive, Google's G Suite, Asana, and you have Calendly, RingCentral, Zendesk, etc. So once the single sign-on is configured with Zoho Directory, all that the user should do is to go and click. The single sign-on will work. And this is the provisioning where you say, if a user is created in my app, go and create in the third-party app. If the user is, if any of the user profile information is updated in Zoho Directory, you mirror the same thing across all the connected apps. So these kind of setting helps you minimize the jobs that I spoke of before. All that you need to do is to have the setting, onboard the user to Zoho Directory, assign all the apps. If the account is not there, Zoho Directory will create it. If the account is there, if there is any discrepancy in the profile information, Zoho Directory will update it. And you deactivate in Zoho Directory, the users will be deactivated across all the apps. And I'm not talking about Zoho apps alone. I'm talking about the third-party apps also. Now, this is our app catalog. We have around 500 pre-built integrations, and we also support for custom apps. So in case if you don't find any of the apps which you use here, you could always go and do a custom integration. So we spoke of the first change, right, which is moving from on-prem to cloud. The second big challenge is the world moved from perimeter-based trust to zero trust. Now, what do I mean by this? I can give you an example. Let's say you go to your bank, you are going to withdraw a huge sum of money. So probably they will ask you for your ID proof and you present your check, you can withdraw the money and come. But will they do the same if you do an online transaction and if the amount is huge? They will not do, right? They'll probably do multiple checks. They will call you, they'll check whether you are the right person, and they'll put a cap on how much you can withdraw, and probably 2 or 3 hours later they will make you another call to ensure that you are the one who released the amount, right? So in zero trust, the idea is that you don't blindly trust an entity. You always verify, you judge the risk as it is and take contextual actions. When in perimeter-based trust, it is essentially that your physical presence is taken as a trust. So why this happened? 10-15 years back, again, people used to work from office and most of the resources were inside the office premises. So it was safe to assume that since you are physically present in the office and you are connecting to the office network, you are a trusted entity. It doesn't work anymore. With mobile phones and other things coming, so people can do work anywhere, right? So you need to authenticate, you need to judge the risk, and you need to take contextual actions. And that is where the single checkpoint or plain authentication doesn't work anymore. You need more of an adaptive authentication to be done. And also, newer forms of threats arose and it needed an two-factor authentication or a verified approach. Coming to the contextual login use case, to all the people who are aware of Active Directory, let me ask a question. Let's say you are the IT admin of your company and there is a marketing group which keeps traveling, right? You need to put a condition saying that if any member from my marketing group uses personal device or logs in from a suspicious geolocation or country, you should not allow them to log in at all. Whereas, if they are logging in from an office device, but still they are logging in from a not so trusted network, you could allow them access, but you should ask for multi-factor authentication. And if they are logging in from office device and from a trusted network, proceed with the authentication directly. What would it take to put a condition like this in Active Directory? Is it even possible? That's exactly the problem that we are trying to solve. MFA, zero trust, adaptive authentication, these are all modern needs, and this could not be solved by the older LDAP system or the Active Directory systems. As I said, what we are trying to solve is to, be more contextual and be more adaptive in the way we authenticate our systems. So this is our conditional access framework. So using Zoho Directory, you could create a complex set of conditions that is tailored made to your organization. For example, you could say, if a person from the HR department is working on Saturday or Sunday, you make sure to ask for an MFA. If an accounting person is logging in from a platform that they are not used to, for example, your company is, let's say they are using more of Mac and Windows, suddenly you see a login from Linux, should you allow or not? You make the decision. You can create such complex conditions over in using this conditional access policies. As you can see, I have listed those criteria here, and I have also given one example where I'm creating a condition for if the platform is Mac, Windows, and Linux, then allow login. And on top, you can see 2 checkboxes. This will work only for web and mobile. It won't work for your native applications, as in the ones that you have installed in the desktop. You can create such complex conditions using Zoho Directory's security policy. Now, I have been speaking about this multi-factor authentication, right? Like verifying multiple times. So it is very simple to understand what a multi-factor authentication is. It just boils down to 3 things. It could be something you have, it could be something you know, and it could be something you are. So this is apart from password. A multi-factor authentication can be something which could be your mobile phone. If you get a push notification and you approve it and the mobile phone is registered with me, I have a proof that it is owned by you and it is you who is trying to log in. And the second thing is something It could be a PIN or a security question that I can ask and verify your identity. And the third thing is, of course, something you are, which is your fingerprints or your face ID, which I can use to use for multi-factor authentication. But why is multi-factor authentication important? I'm going to ask you something. I'm going to play you something. How many of you recognize this brand? What is this? On a trust score of 0 to 10, how much do you trust this brand? This is a phishing site I created in less than 1 minute. It took me 1 minute to create this mark. And that 1 minute, probably 30 seconds was spent on signing up. So you could see the difference. So this is the threat we are talking about. It is so easy to, send out phishing attacks. And think what will happen if I had, prompted you to log in into this. I easily have your passwords. And probably with if you have reused your password for your banking accounts, I can take a chartered flight back home. I can do that. So how is multi-factor authentication going to protect you from this? If you are scammed and you inadvertently enter your password, you could still render the attempt by the hacker futile if you have multi-factor authentication in place. So what is going to happen? The password is exposed. Now, when the person who did the hack, when he tries to log in, your mobile is going to get a push notification. And unless you approve, there's no way he can log in. And with something like OneAuth, which comes integrated with Zoho directory, you can take further actions too. OneAuth is our own native authenticator tool. You go inside that, you click restrict sign in, you completely lock out your account, and then probably later you can go and recover your account from wherever it is. And OneAuth in itself is trusted by a lot of organizations. We have around 450K organizations trusting it with 3 million plus downloads. The last challenge that we are going to speak about is fairly straightforward. 10-15 years back, it was a complete Windows dominated ecosystem. Everybody used Windows. Nowadays, more and more companies started adopting Mac and Linux systems, and the machines are not joined to domain anymore. This requires a different way of authentication than what it used to be before. And again, you need the same kind of a user experience and login experience to carry it over to your device and not just your applications. So all the sysadmins here, they might know this issue. If you try and connect a non-Windows account to Active Directory, there could be a lot of password sync issues. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it syncs the password to your local, but then your keychain account is not synced if you are using Mac. So many issues are out there. So what Zoho Directory can do is that it can provide the same level of security and login experience that we saw for application to your work devices also. So this is where Zoho Directory's device authentication comes into picture. As you can see, I have enrolled a lot of apps, different flavors of OS, and all that you need to do is to choose one of these deployment. You can either do a manual installation, and once you are installed, your device is enrolled to Zoho Directory, and from then on, you can use the same Zoho password to not just log in into your apps, but also to your work machines. And you can also choose the automate deployment case if you have large number of machines to be deployed. Let's say you have thousands of people working, you don't have to go and install in everyone's device. You basically need to have a endpoint solution that can run a script, and it happens in just a moment. We saw what an identity provider is. We saw what an IAM is. We saw certain features of Zoho Directory that you can use it to make it into a complete identity solution. This is a case study that I want to present. This is something we implemented for a customer recently. Their use case is something like this. They are one of the popular consumer electronics brand in India. They are into the smartwatch and headsets and audio systems manufacturing. They wanted something like this. They had a HR tool called Great HR, and all their employees were onboarded to Great HR first. The requirement was Zoho Directory it should sync the users from Great HR to Zoho Directory, and based on certain conditional assignment, they should get assigned to certain apps. For example, the developers, they need to get assigned to Google Workspace, Atlassian, and the AWS Identity Management Portal, etc. The marketing guys, they wanted some sales tool and other things. So Zoho Directory should intelligently do this without any manual intervention. So this is possible using a feature called group. Inside groups, we have conditional assignment. You can put a lot of criteria to assign the users to the apps directly. And Zoho Directory should provide the single sign-on for all these apps, which means Their Google Workspace or their Atlassian or their AWS or their Slack and Zoom, etc., should be logged in with a Zoho account. And they should use the same credential to log into the devices. So we also understand that companies don't move from a legacy system to Zoho directory in snap of a finger. So for that, they might be having their own reasons, like they might have their Wi-Fi's connected or VPNs connected or legacy apps connected to the legacy systems. So to kind of provide an easy transition, we are also coming up with certain features such as Cloud Radius, which will help you with Wi-Fi authentication, which is practically a Radius server hosted on cloud. You don't have to do anything on your end. And we are also going to come up with our LDAP server on cloud. So in case if you have older apps that doesn't support SAML or OADC, or you have your VPNs that doesn't support SAML and OADC, you could still use Zoho Directory's credential to log in into them as well. We are also bolstering up our security framework. We are bringing a lot of features in those areas such as audit logs and security posture. And we are also planning to bring multi-factor authentication at the device level. So this is the Cloud Radius feature I was talking about. So as you can see, this is the information of Zoho Directory's Radius server. All that you need to do is to copy paste this information on your router and it works seamlessly. That's all. There's no need for you to host a Radius server on your end. We have done that part for you. This is the audit log. This helps you drill down to the lowest level and track down what are all the actions that has been taken by your admins or the users in Zoho Directory. And especially if you are going for some audits like SOC 2 or ISO 27001, this might be very handy. Speaking about audits, in case if you are going for any of this, NIST, ISO 27001, SOC 2, one of the fundamental questions the auditors are going to ask you is whether you have a directory system in place. Not just Zoho Directory, any directory. And some of the Zoho Directory's features meet critical demands of all those compliance the certification bodies. For example, if you're trying to be aligned with this, then you definitely need the lockout and session management policies as mentioned. You need single sign-on, etc. And one few things before we finish, we manage around 100 million plus user identities in Zoho. So all the customer identities are managed in Zoho, and that accounts to almost 100 million plus. And we have around 18 plus years of expertise. We have gone from that on-prem era to what we are now. Why I'm saying this? It is the same framework, same technology, and same platform that we are productizing and presenting you as Zoho Directory. It is the same thing. And in case if you are using any of these brands, you are already using Zoho Directory in one form or the other. That's all. Thank you.